everybody, and I want to say hello to everyone watching on YouTube and Twitch. If you've never watched our commentary before, y'all, let me fill you in. We are live on YouTube and Twitch, and we've got graphics. And this week in particular is a great week to be with us on YouTube and Twitch because Alexis has a bunch of comic panels she's going to walk us through, and I have no idea where this is going, so I cannot wait to watch. So you can go to the link in my TikTok bio, and you can find us on YouTube, Stark Radio Show. You can somehow find us on Twitch, Stark Radio Show, I think, and you will be able to see the comic panels that we're talking about there. But I'm going to defer over to Alexis and Marissa. Hi, besties.
Hi. Hello.
Do you want to say hi to everyone and introduce yourselves for folks that may not know who you are, or maybe it's their first time tuning into the show?
Alexis, go first.
Man, I was going to make you go first. Hi, I'm Alexis, and I read comics, and I talk about them. Hello.
Hi, I'm Marissa. I don't read comics, and I don't talk about them. We'll get there someday.
Marissa is there. A new expertise brought to Stark Panel. Let me walk y'all through what's happened over these past few weeks.
What happened is...
What happened?
Oh my God. What
happened was the Hawkeye trailer came out.
Yes.
There was ROGERS the musical. I said, I'm going to make this my entire personality.
Yes, she did.
Liz and Alexis decided they were also going to make it their entire personalities.
Yeah, we did.
They said, we're going to talk about ROGERS the musical on live. And I said, I will be there. I'll be watching.
There is an important detail missing from this
There is?
timeline. Yes. Liz and Alexis said, let's talk about ROGERS the musical. And then Liz and Alexis said, oh my God, how do we talk about ROGERS the musical? And then Marissa said, I'm going to join Stark Radio and talk about ROGERS the musical. And Alexis and Liz said, thank God we have Marissa here.
I was just going to watch the live and comment a lot, but Liz was like, do you want to be on it? And I was like, great. And now I'm just here.
And now
all the time.
When you said us, I feel like we were like kidnappers in a van with candy. We're like, come do this one thing.
Come to our live show, Marissa.
You are now a permanent
fixture
spot on the Sorry.
So everyone leave some likes for Marissa, our latest commentator. You can tap your screen if you're on TikTok. If you're on YouTube and Twitch, drop a comment with some clapping hands emojis so we can see you and we know you're here. And let's all send Marissa some appreciation for dealing with our chaos every week. That's truly what this show is at its core, is Liz and Alexis being chaotic routinely and on the reg about Marvel and feminism, and now about musicals too.
I love it. You're now my best friends. I talk to you more than my family. I'm having the best time.
I know, it's so true.
There's chaos, y'all. But it's good. And all of you watching as well are a part of this community, and we're all besties here at Stark Radio, which is the best part. I want to do a quick little drum roll if everyone can at home give me. Yeah, thank you, Alexis. Who needs sound effects when you have Alexis Blake reads comics? Am I right? We had a lot of things happen this week that I would like to just promote into the air. I've already talked about one of my favorite new shows, Voices of Atlas, premiering. I also want to give a shout out to Grace, Bucky's ex-wife, who hit 10K. Alexis hit 10K last week, which is so exciting. We have a lot of exciting shows that are coming up in the month of October and in November, and we've been working on them this week. And y'all, I cannot explain how this show is getting bigger and better and even more chaotic. So if you've enjoyed a mess around What If, there is so much coming that you're going to love. So stay tuned. More is coming. I've never been so excited to be a TikTok creator, and I've never been so excited to do this show. So I just wanted to put that out there. There's a lot more that's about to be announced. But specifically to this week, in terms of chaos, if we've ever wanted a chaotic moment from Marvel, we got it with this episode of What If. So I want to launch right in to what the F moment of the week, which is a segment of this show where we really just sit back and go, what actually happened? And I know that the TikTok screen or the YouTube Twitch screen is wrong, so give me a second to fix it. Alexis, I want to go to you first. 5. We could talk about it. I don't want to go back to episode 5, frankly. I'm lost in what happened this week. Alexis, I want to start with you. What was your WTF moment of the week with this episode of What If?
I don't want to be first ever. My WTF moment of What If. Honestly, I was stuck on the robot arm for pretty much the whole episode. I don't know that that's necessarily a WTF moment, but literally the whole time I was like, what is this supposed to symbolize for me? Like, what reference am I missing? Also, I was very like it attached to his shoulder in the same way as Bucky. So I'm wondering if that implies like a certain consistency of prostheses in this universe, which I was fascinated by. The dexterity on like the arrow pool was really interesting. I was the arm. I have lots of notes about the arm.
And it seemed like one of those moments where like someone had a bucket with like props, right? And like another bucket with characters, and they're like, "All right, switch things up this week with no explanation. Clint will have a metal arm. Intern, please pop that in."
I feel like that must have been what they did the first episode too. They're like, "Bucky, we'll talk about fish. Intern, go make that work."
Yeah, and then there's some poor like animator in the back room going, "Oh no, what do I do?" Please give a raise to all of your editors, Marvel. Like they honestly, this series, if anyone deserves praise, it's the people that are making these ideas that are so chaotic, somewhat watchable. Marissa, what about you? Do you have a different WTF moment, or are we fixated on this arm?
Okay, it's not. I mean, it's kind of the same. It's the same moment. It's the invisibility cloak. Like I was watching, and I was like, that's an invisibility cloak. What is that? Alexis?
What, please tell us. Is there an explanation for this madness, Alexis? Is there a comic that we can defer to make us feel more, at peace?
Does that exist?
I swear to goodness, there is not. Clyde or Slice here, they can correct me because they're a big Hawkeye fan. But I swear to goodness, there is not an invisibility cloak in a Hawkeye comic that I have missed. I don't think that is a thing.
That is the second Harry Potter reference that we have had on this season of what the F is happening at Marvel. We had in the zombies episode, we had the spells that were being said when they were running from the zombies, and we were like, how? Period. That was the full sentence, just how. And now we have invisibility cloak with no explanation. So my question is this show implying the existence of the Harry Potter universe being a part of the MCU? And if so, is there a different author that we can thank for the Harry Potter series who could potentially do some rewrites?
I feel like if we're thinking about this logically, I feel like because you have to apply logic to What If, right? It's a very logical show.
Of course. And when I think about logical people, it's the three of us that come to mind. So, of course.
Yeah. But if you're thinking about it logically, I think like there's supposed to be different universes, right? Each episode. So like if we think about the zombies episode, like that could be a universe in which the books exist because Scott is like quoting it. But then this episode, they could just be wizards. Like it's
like
a multiverse of possibilities.
Yes,
you're a wizard, Steve. I'm a what? A wizard. I love it. Anyone know that meme? That meme of like that person on YouTube, and it's like, "You're a wizard, Harry. I'm a what? A wizard."
I just really appreciated your delivery. I think that's what got me. Oh, wizard!
Commitment.
You're a wizard, Harry. Yes. Is there a world where Clint Barton defeats Voldemort? Like that is a universe I'd like to see. I want to call out a comment here that I see on TikTok from Sly. They gave Clint a metal arm, but did not give him hearing aids. I'm still salty. And I think, honestly, this is a very serious point that I completely agree with. Even in an animated show where anything is possible, you still won't go back to the canon characteristics of these people. You'll give him a metal arm. You'll give Natasha a shield. You'll give Clint a better haircut. And there's we forgot this very important fact about who he is. Let's just, maybe in one universe, we'll get it right.
Eventually.
I would have really liked metal arm sign language too. Like, I feel like that's a missed opportunity. I would have appreciated that.
That would have been, I wonder if it would be like programmable. Like maybe
Right?
perhaps like
I
there's
have
like
so
some
many
really
questions
fancy
about
like
the arm.
brain wave to like mechanical arm.
Mhm.
Like I don't know. I feel that's like another like what if scenario we could like explore another time perhaps. But yeah, the whole my whole piece with Clint is like Hawkeye, the show, is going to be the last chance I give Marvel to do Clint Barton justice. And we will see. I don't want to speak poorly about a show I have not seen. So we'll leave it there. But if you read my energy, perhaps you can pick up my vibe.
Mm-hmm.
But my hopes
We're
and dreams.
cautious.
We're cautious.
We're cautious.
Very
There's
cautious.
there's a really great, well, I take that back. Not really great. There is a Deadpool comic in which Clint, Hawkeye, makes a comment about not being able to communicate with this child because the child's in a Hulk mask and Clint is trying to read lips and can't see his face, right? And so Deadpool like rolls up the bottom of his mask, right? So like Clint can read his lips. And it's just like this really interesting like commentary about like the people in Clint's world and like how those relationships work. And it would have been really neat because like the show, like Natasha is not in the show. So that means that we will never have gotten a moment between Clint and Natasha, who were supposedly best friends, where they were communicating in a way that was possibly more familiar to Clint. And it would have at least been nice to have seen that in this episode as well. Like that would have been a good opportunity for like Natasha and Clint sign language.
Let's talk about what did happen this week between Clint and Natasha, because this is like the talk of the town. Every week I feel like there's one point of an episode. Like there's one point that's like the main driver of conversation that everybody sees the moment and they're like, this is the moment that like the Twitter discourse is going to be about. Like this is the moment that my whole For You page is going to be talking about for the next few days. And I feel like it's very obvious, at least to me, that the moment this week was a reversal of Clint and Natasha.
But not
at all.
So let's talk about that. Marissa, let's start with you. Like, and I feel like you have a take on this. So like, let's hear it.
I do. As an it should have been Clint, this is not what I meant when I said it should have been Clint. This is not what it should have been. I don't know what words I'm allowed to use on TikTok or
just not
wherever.
Just, you know,
but
like
making
I'll never let go, Jack.
Making him so uninterested in staying alive as justification for him not staying alive did not work for me. It made me sympathize with him. It made me like him a lot more. I liked him a lot more just in this episode generally, but also it was so unnecessary and it made me like really upset.
I also feel like I didn't understand it because his motivation after the snap, right? And like how he changed by losing his family via the snap was like to kind of, in a very understated term, you know, to lash out on the world, right? And then I know it's a very understated way of saying that. And then inevitably to rejoin the effort to do some right for what's left. Eventually, right? And I just didn't understand why he gave up so quickly. When Natasha's saying there is a solution, like maybe not a solution, but there's something we can do and to make it somewhat right and to ensure other people are safe. And he just goes, no, checked out, I'm done. Like I was like, that doesn't really seem like the spirit of this character to me. What do you think, Alexis?
I mean, I have a lot of thoughts. One, I think I found the contrast to be really interesting because I think it's clear that Natasha sacrifices herself, right? Like she chooses this as like a sacrifice because she thinks it will allow him and the world to have a better life, right? And even in my notes, I have like, was this a sacrifice? Like, I'm not sure. Like, I'm not necessarily sure he was sacrificing himself for like the greater good or whether or not he was just giving up and
sacrificing.
I think there's this thing that happens with Clint in the comics where like his depression is largely introduced by Matt Fraction, and then after that it's like different authors don't really get the tone right, like they're not really sure how to portray that, and that's what I felt in this episode. It was like they were trying to introduce this Clint that like did not have great mental health, who was struggling with the world, who was depressed, but I don't feel that they did it in a way that like was good. I just like it just seemed like, I mean, I was kind of frustrated with him instead of like empathizing with him. And I think there was a way to have written that story that put me in a more agreeable position with him. Like I just kind of wanted to shake him multiple times. Like it was like Marissa said, it was like, why are you giving up so easy? Like I don't have enough context to understand.
And we kind of did get this from the Watcher, a teeny tiny bit, right? Like the Watcher did say the answer is right there. Like the Watcher was kind of being once again kind of like the viewer, and how he is the Watcher, or is the Watcher the Watcher? I'm not sure. And how the Watcher was perceiving that moment, trying to say like, what, like you're a human, like humans don't give up, and kind of provide that perspective. And yet it fell completely flat for me. That moment just felt very gaggy as opposed to actually having a commentary around it. That's been my general problem with this show, has been commentary versus like an actual meaningful moment that creates change in the viewer, which is what a show should have. I want to talk about... No, go ahead. No, you go ahead. I'm about to get angry about something else. So let's finish this before I get angry again.
I said that I also found that scene fascinating because it has a weird commentary to me about how hard copy files are supposed to work that I didn't necessarily feel was necessary. Like I'm like, hard copies are incredibly easy to steal. Like they are the easiest thing to steal. What are you
harder to steal, easier to destroy? I was like, I don't think that's true.
It's not how that works at all.
Do you know how long it takes to burn a fire? Like, has anyone actually like burned paper before? Like, it's not snappy.
Or like grab paper off somebody's desk. Like that takes like a shimmy and a giggle. Like if you're trying to like rip off code, like you have to hack through firewalls. Like what are you talking about?
Only reason why Agent Carter was even mildly successful was because they didn't have a database. They had papers.
Yes.
And she was like,
that's why it took so long.
Yeah. Also, I have to apologize. I'm very warm in my Stark Radio sweater plug. So I'm going to be playing with my hair the whole night as I attempt to like keep calm while I get heated about... That was good. That was good. Stay cool while I get heated about Marvel when I'm quite literally just like very warm in this moment. I need sound effects for this show. Honest to God, TikTok, give us a production studio.
We need one of those like the iCarly remote where they have the applause sounds.
I'm not asking for much. Listen, if y'all think you can provide sound effects for this show, like drop emojis in the chat. Here, again, for those of you watching on TikTok, we are on YouTube and we are on Twitch, and we have graphics talking about What If and Rogers the Musical. I want to shout out some comments that we're getting. Sly says, it gave me Hawkeye 2003 vibes, tone-wise. Alexis, what does that mean to you?
I just love
we don't know what that means.
The person that reads that. No, I totally agree. Yeah, it was very like, I don't know. When I think of Hawkeye 2003, I also think of like the more caveman-y Hawkeye, and it did kind of give me those vibes. And that was also, I believe, a miniseries. I could be wrong, but I think typically for Hawkeye, his miniseries were much less developed. Like Natasha got lucky in that her miniseries were actually much more developed than the story and character we get from her in longer runs. But Hawkeyes were typically underdeveloped, and it does have that same kind of like vibe and energy. So yes, I agree.
No one asked me what my WTF moment of the week was. So
oh, Liz,
what was your WTF moment?
Oh, yeah, too late for that. No, I'm kidding. I have a very specific WTF moment, and I want to hear everyone's opinion on this, including everybody watching. So thank you for the rose on TikTok. Really appreciate that. I want to hear everyone's opinion on this. So like, please get loud if you also felt like this was odd. This moment when Ultron Vision decides to eat a universe. I had so many, and then it wasn't just like the biting, right? It was also how at some point it like caused like a big bang kind of situation to occur. But listen, from an editing perspective, from a animated show perspective, it was a cool moment, right? But then once again, I'm coming in with the logic, and I'm like, you can't bite a universe. Like, what happened? What was happening at that moment? He was like, look, I have a drink, right? Look at me, ready? But like he was like, and there's like an explosion, and I don't understand what he was biting on. The logistics of that entire moment ruined it for me because I just did not understand. And was he physically there, or was he in the Watcher realm? And if that's the case, how could he bite a universe? None of it.
It gave me hungry hippo vibes.
Yeah.
It was just like,
I want hungry hippos, but it's like the Watcher, Vision, Thanos, and like who would be the fourth?
Ultron. Did you say Ultron?
Oh, I said Vision.
Oh, yeah.
Vision, Ultron, and then like original Ultron.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, someone make that. But yes, that was my WTF moment of the week. I was just very startled. But I know the Watcher had a WTF moment of the week as well when the Watcher said, I have seen everything that has ever happened, and yet what the hell is this?
That cracked me up because he had been almost like, it wasn't iambic pentameter, right? But it had the same vibe. Like it was this very like otherworldly like style of speaking, and then it was just like, what the hell? Like,
I would like, Alexis, for you to say this line out loud in your best iambic pentameter interpretation. Everyone clear the floor. Lower your lights. Alexis, give us your most dramatic interposition of this.
I feel like if I do this, Missa has to do this. Marissa has to do this.
Yes, absolutely. She's next. Get ready.
I'm gonna be bad.
No, you can do it. Nobody can even see you. The graphics covering your face.
That has ever happened. And yet, what the hell is this?
That's great.
That was good. All right, Marissa, you like in character? You can see everything that's ever happened. Are you like ready for that interpretation?
I'm ready.
All right, ready?
I have seen everything that has ever happened. And yet, what the hell is this? Acting training.
A round of applause. Everyone in the chat,
Thank
give
you.
a little round of applause.
Thank
amazing. I should really pay y'all more. And by that, I mean they don't get paid. They're my friends, and I subject them to these moments they don't prepare for. So thank you for humoring me, friends. Hello in the chat to some friends that are joining us from around the world, including New Zealand. Thank y'all for tuning in. We're talking everything What If and Rogers the musical this week. Lizzie on YouTube is saying my fave MCU moment TBH. Honestly, I will give What If its chops for doing memes well. They really gave us many moments to work with. And to give everyone a little sense of like some of these moments that we have, I've been saving these graphics from week to week, right? So let's just take a little stroll down memory lane momentarily and talk about some of these like excellent moments that we have had. Maybe not excellent, but just moments. moments that we've had. Bucky and
I knew this is what you were going to start with.
That's not funny, Liz. That's not funny.
Marissa, why don't you read it out loud for those on TikTok that can't see
what
the way
he says it is like, "Woo, thanks. You almost ripped my arm off."
Yeah, it's very like Toy Story.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
Very Toy Story. And we'll move from that. And I don't have things for every episode, unfortunately, available at this moment. But then we go to Thor with like this kind of, hold on, I'll take the graphic down so y'all can see. I'll do it again. You can all watch it again when Thor's doing this. You know, that whole thing he does. And then you have Coulson being like, oh, even when rotting, he smells like lavender.
It's just so freaky.
And in terms of character building, like it's something I didn't ask for, right? And then moving on to like other memes we received, we got Sassy Wong.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Sassy
Sassy
Wong.
Wong
Yeah.
was good.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a ka-chow in the chat. Longtime viewer. Everyone would know what that meme reference is from the Loki after parties we used to do. And the ka-chow reference really has like made its way back into the vocabulary for What If, and I don't know how or why, but I'm really glad we've kept that up. Thank you to everyone that always tries to ka-chow a moment here on Stark Radio. Okay, and then we had, I don't really have a lot of memes at my disposal from the zombie episode. Oh, I guess we had like the Peter doing the vlog and Bucky
you
in
don't
the
have.
shower.
I was about to say
You
you
don't
don't
have
have
Bucky in the
Liz's
shower?
plumbing corner.
Of course I
Oh.
have Liz's plumbing corner. Y'all, of course I do when Bucky's in the shower.
Still have so
And
many questions about that.
it's come up. I was talking to Sly literally an hour ago, and it came up once again about how plumbing is a key issue for me in the MCU. Did we have any plumbing moments with this episode of What If?
I really tried to think about this. And the only thing I could think of is when Clint is about to pour the canteen, but that's just water. That's not plumbing.
It's electrical. It's close.
Yeah,
It's close.
but I think that's it.
If anyone watching can point out a plumbing logistical disaster,
There
do
has
it
to
now
be
in the chat.
something
There has
in
to
that
be
like
something.
montage where it goes
Yes.
through all the. There has to be something that I missed.
And I really want to go back and rewatch that montage because I really feel like I missed a lot of good moments because it went so fast, right? Like we really saw a lot happening there. And I wonder, like, if you were to watch it piece by piece, like, what would be some of the moments that you could pull out that maybe have comics history, maybe have like referencing to past episodes, or maybe have like referencing to things that like we never asked for, like Steve Rogers becoming president of the United States.
I think I asked for it in my dreams.
Did you ask for it?
I have asked for it several times.
Speak on it. See, I'm the Canadian here. I have never wished for an American president in my dreams. Perhaps I've never.
Ouch!
That's not meant to be like slanderous. It's just meant to be. It's not normally what comes to mind for me.
That's fair.
But I mean, y'all talk on it. Like Steve Rogers as your president. How do y'all feel?
I think Nomad Steve would be a great president.
Agreed. Agreed.
That's the era of Steve Rogers in the MCU that I want to be president.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm going to be the not fun one because I love the idea of Steve Rogers as president, but I actually think, especially in the MCU, it's like this really interesting commentary about his character because traditionally in the comics, we get more about his relationship with politics, right? Like the House of M comic that is tied into Captain America is pretty much just about like his inability to be related to politics. But a bunch of like the Pleasant Hill stuff happens, Bucky and Kobik happens like because he has a positive relationship with politics. But I feel that like Steve in the MCU does not. Like I don't know that I necessarily like, so I'm like, what in this universe happened to put him on a presidential path? Because in ours,
Right, yeah.
That's very fair. Like I want the series of events that made Steve Rogers a political figurehead.
I feel like I could see it going in like two different directions. I feel like he could be like steered by the government into politics, or he could be so fed up with the government that he's like, hell no, I'm going to run this instead.
I'm taking over, folks. Yeah, I also feel like it could be like, is it Steve Rogers or is it like someone pretending to be Steve Rogers? Ooh.
Is it a Skrull?
Is it a Skrull? Spicy. I want to call out a question from Sly on TikTok. Which character would you pick to be the Prime Minister of Canada? My selfish answer, Carol Danvers. Do I think Carol Danvers is like the correct choice? I don't know. I'm trying to think if there's any like Canadian specific stories in the MCU that make sense for a Prime Minister role. Like, isn't Wolverine? Doesn't Wolverine?
My
have
first
Canadian
thought was Wolverine,
roots?
and then I was
But
like,
like,
oh,
I don't know if Wolverine is really meant to be a Prime Minister. You know what I mean? But maybe Wolverine is.
Maria Hill is played by Colby Smulders, who
Yes,
is Canadian.
and I like Colby Smulders. And you know what? Maria's really got it together. Maria's in charge, you know? So that's a good answer too. And like, we need more women in politics in general, like I think globally. So like, yeah, absolutely. She's a great pick. Yes. Yes.
Great.
Yes. But Carol Danvers, I mean, salute. Like, I don't know if you salute in the States. I don't think we even salute here, but I feel like that would be the appropriate thing to do if Carol Danvers was my prime minister. I'd be like, what, Bessie, do you need like a handshake? Like, what do I do now? Like, bow down to you? Okay. That's my selfish answer for that.
That's
what about y'all? If it wasn't Steve Rogers, is there a pick for like a political figurehead that you would? Actually, really quick, I'm going to plug. I did an interview with Nikhil Clayton. If you follow Nikhil Clayton here on TikTok, he does a show about comic book characters in the IRS and like how heroes would get taxed. And it's hysterical. And his commentary in general is really great. But we played a game when I interviewed him, and we talked about the different departments of the United States government and like which comic book characters would fit into each department. And we talked about everything, like Coast Guard. We talked about like the Food Inspection Agency. We talked about like different pieces of the U.S. military. We talked about like international relations. Like we talked about just about every government place you could put someone. And it was a very hilarious conversation. So if you want more like political / comic book in your life, you can check out that episode on my YouTube with Nikhil Clayton. I had a great time. I thought it was very funny. But do y'all have any more thoughts of like, if it wasn't Steve Rogers, who would be Steve Rogers' vice president? I think is also a very important question. Alexis just gave the most devilish smile I've ever seen because I know exactly what just came to mind for you. So would you like to say it out loud?
No, because it wouldn't work in this universe. But when you ask me who I want to be Steve Rogers' vice president, like the first thought in my head is, well, Bucky Barnes. Duh. Best friends, both schoolyard and battlefield.
Yeah.
Besties. Best friends.
Best friends. Mm-hmm. Marissa, what do you think?
I was thinking more about the fate of the country than just my own desires.
Thanks, Marissa.
Yep.
I mean, I think Bucky would be okay. Maybe not on like diplomatic relations. But no, I thought like Sam Wilson, but then that felt like cheating because it's just two Captain Americas.
Oh, Sam, of course. Sam would be a great choice.
Yeah.
I think. Okay, so we've just I think that's like a new like segment of like politics. Like we've done it for this week. Let's like let it rest for a little bit. I'm really interested in seeing, Alexis, what you have to say about the comics and like what we have lined up. Alexis is going to give us this like what I'm sure is going to be a beautiful comics like annotation perhaps in a moment. There is one point I would like to raise, and I've been like particularly waiting for a good moment to raise it, and I think we finally reached that point, both in like seeing who's viewing the show and like how many people we have here. They brought back my sarcasm favorite man in the MCU.
Boo. You're a hero.
Boo.
Dr. Stephen Strange. He is here. And the Watcher said, of all the places I could go, I'm going to fall into Dr. Strange's arms after he just proved that he cannot be trusted to save people. So a couple thoughts. Obviously, this is some multiverse of madness setup, if I've ever seen it. But like, what do we do with this, Alexis? Like, where do we go from here?
So I have two things in my notes that I think are relevant. One is when Vision was becoming Vision Ultron. I just wrote, how is Marissa's trauma? Because I know how much you like Wanda, right? And then when Doctor Strange came back, I just wrote, how is Liz's trauma?
Y'all, it was a rough one.
I think the interesting, like, I care not about, I'm like, why is he here? Like, I'm not a fan. I don't, right? But I thought the language was interesting because he says, like, I want you to step back on your oath, right? And the oath is a really famous Doctor Strange comic run, I believe, by Brian K. Vaughan. So, like, that stood out to me, but I don't want it. Right. So like the conclusion for me is I don't want it. And
I don't want it.
I will say this whole episode to me felt like it was trying to justify the existence of all of the other episodes. Like that this episode was supposed to be worth sitting through the other 6. I don't know that it was, but I think Doctor Strange's appearance was supposed to be like see, we've all been leading up to this moment, but I'm like, but does that make it worth it? For me, I don't think that it does.
And they even did the like sneaky thing where they didn't put Benedict Cumberbatch in the opening credits. Like they didn't put his name until the end.
Yeah.
And I was like, that was really sneaky and I didn't like it.
I don't like it.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
I don't like it.
I don't like it.
I say that in real life.
I say that in real
life. And I don't say it because he says it. I said it first.
Oh, I say it because he said it.
Copyright.
5-year-old Marissa Longo.
Yeah. The Marvel saying that there's two, and they're very well known, but since one I say regularly because it's very fitting to most things that happen in my life since a win. And then the other thing I say is well, I gotta get in there. And I say it about like if I'm like I gotta send an email, I'm like I gotta get in there. I'm like, Liz, stop it. Like,
I do that one all the time too.
Do you have one,
That's
Alexis,
amazing.
other than the ones that have been
No,
said?
I say those two, and then just occasionally I will say Sebastian Stan, like just all the time.
My
like,
man.
It's not like I've seen him, but like I'll see somebody and just be like Sebastian Stan.
My man.
I love that.
Oh my God.
Sly is saying I quote that at least once a day.
Just like he says, sometimes you just have to say, I don't like it.
I don't like it. I don't like it. And with that, Alexis, I'm going to pass the floor over to you. Everyone watching on TikTok, I invite you to come join us on YouTube and Twitch because Alexis has brought comic panels that are going to be on the screen. We will see them with our eyes while we talk about them. So if you go to the link in my bio, on my TikTok bio, there's a YouTube button. You can click on that. It's going to take you right to the live. You'll see it. Or you can find us on Twitch by searching Stark Radio Show or on YouTube by searching Stark Radio Show. You'll find the three of our beautiful faces live over there. But I'm going to defer, Alexis. I know you are an educator, so we are your students. I am doing your PowerPoint slides. Please walk us through the magic that is this.
Okay.
Whatever you have planned.
I had many feelings about Natasha and the Shield in this episode. Not because I am not a fan of Natasha and the Shield, but because I have complicated feelings about Natasha and Alexis' Shield because we don't know that their relationship was different in this universe, and I wouldn't want our Natasha to try to carry on the legacy of her abusive father. I said what I said. But there was this really fantastic moment in the comics, it doesn't get talked about enough, where Natasha carries Steve's shield. And the setup for this is that Steve is presumed, and the Tony has taken the shield and pretended to put it on display in a museum, but really hasn't. And so there are all of these different people. This is in the middle of Civil War, like Civil War's happening. There are all these different people trying to take the shield. And Bucky, who is working on the down low for Nick Fury, is trying to get the shield, both for Nick and to preserve Steve's legacy because he's Bucky. And Natasha is trying to get this shield to keep it safe because she doesn't know Bucky's in the picture. And so anyway, we get this really fantastic fight between Bucky and Natasha when Natasha is showing her competency with the shield, which I just felt like everyone needed. The comics did it better, and I felt like everyone needed to know.
There will be a pop quiz. You will not be allowed to watch next week's live if you don't pay attention to the following segment. Take notes. Marissa, we will axe you from this show. You will be off air next week. If I get it wrong, Marissa, the show is yours. You get to take over Stark Radio.
Great.
Alexis, where would you like to start?
Anywhere.
Here?
Yes. Yeah. So this is Natasha with the shield. She's trying to run reconnaissance. She runs into Bucky. They have a fight. This is when they recognize each other for the first time, like since Russia. So for those of you who don't know, in the comics, Natasha and Bucky met and fell in love in the Red Room. She assumed that he had been he has been put on ice all this time, in part because of his love for her. He gets brought back. He gets all his memories back in the comics from the Cosmic Cube, and has been working for Fury. Other Avengers like Tony have known that he's alive, but they didn't know that Natasha knew him, so nobody bothered to tell her. And so this is the first time they are seeing each other again.
Wow. So do you want to give a little descriptor for those on TikTok that are not seeing what we're seeing here on screen?
Natasha looks like a badass and she has the shield, and Bucky looks brooding and he's like, and then he basically says something like, "It can't be you. I thought you would be an old woman." And she says the equivalent of like, "Oh, Dob." She says it in English.
All right.
There
Next. Here we are.
So this is Bucky and Natasha fighting with the shield. And I think this is just really interesting because Natasha's doing, like, she has the shield on her back, right? Like Steve Rogers style. But she is clearly like comfortable with that weight. Like she's comfortable fighting with it and using it to quote unquote shield herself. And the interesting dynamic through this whole fight is that Bucky helped train Natasha. So they're really have really intimate knowledge of each other's fight styles, and that comes into play here as well.
Interesting. Next.
This is more fighting with the shield. This is when Natasha does the turtle thing. That's what I call it. And when in the MCU people just hide behind the shield, she does the turtle thing in the air, which is kind of reminiscent to me of like in the Avengers when she jumps off Steve's shield, but this time like she has it. Yes. And it's also when Bucky realizes he knows the winning play, like he knows how to beat her.
Yes.
And basically says that he would rather be put back on ice than have to hurt her, but here he is. I know.
Okay, but walk us through the last one.
And then he wins, and he takes the shield, and he leaves Natasha. And it says wood.
Wood.
Sorry. Wood.
So I have a question, teacher Alexis. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You may call on me. Student Liz. So how does Natasha's style with the shield stack up against Steve in the comics for those of us that would not be able to compare otherwise? Like, is she like pretty nifty with this thing? Like she's really got some moves, or is this like she found something and is now using it?
So I think the commentary around how people fight with the shield is really interesting. I think what is powerful about Natasha is that she seems to understand the shield enough to like have grabbed it, right? Like to like basically like if you think about how things are like this would usually be transported, it would be like a shell game with 3 cars, right? And like one would have the gold and the others would be right. And like Natasha is the shell game here, right? So like Natasha was trusted to be able to pick up the shield and get it back to where it needed to go. And on the fly, she didn't let things like the weight of the shield pull her back. And she utilized it in ways that were beneficial to her. But I will say that later when Bucky is handed the shield, steals the shield, gets the shield, he trains for a really long time, like just with himself and the shield. And
much like Sam Wilson, like what we saw with him in Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yes. And I would say in the comics, Bucky's style with the shield is actually much more like acrobatic than Steve's was. And that's something that Bucky is known a little bit more for. Like we consistently see Bucky like doing cartwheels through the air and flips and those types of things. And so that's kind of what his style with the shield is. But I don't know if that answered your question or not. I have a lot of opinions about this.
So on a scale of 1 to the Loki Nick Fury flipping through the air, which was a pretty interesting moment for us What If viewers, how does Bucky's acrobatics stack up? For those of us that just want a visual of Bucky being acrobatic with a shield, is it good?
It's very good. It's incredibly good.
And that's all we needed to know.
I will pin it after this because I actually did a video forever ago with another group of nerds that was like just talking about his fight style in the comics. I will pin it so people
with another group of nerds.
You have other friends?
You have other groups of nerds that you do talks with about Bucky and the Shield? Well, that's enough of Alexis for this episode. She's done. It's just Marissa and I now. Welcome to the show, everybody. only one group of nerds allowed. Okay.
No, I will say it was before I knew you, and it was the only video I did with them. But
I will forgive you this time. That was your first strike, Alexis. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I feel like that was a good, like, that was the hook moment I was waiting for mid-battle. Like, I was just waiting to, like, disappear.
Get taken down. No, you're very welcome on this show, and we love learning from you. And some folks in the comments are agreeing. Sly saying, one of my favorite turtling moments. Yeah. Turtle. It is. And Lizzie O saying, love a comrades to lover to brainwashed to enemies to teammates to lovers. Is this like a specific MCU trope? Because like I would like to read more of this very specific comrades to lovers to brainwashed to enemies to teammates to lovers in that specific order. So if you have recommendations, comics or books or otherwise, please help me out. Let me know. And a very important question coming in the TikTok chat. Do you like One Direction, bestie? Have you seen any of my content? We are all about One Direction over here at Stark Radio. Absolutely, we do. One Direction's on the wall right over there behind me.
What One Direction reference did I make unintentionally?
No, you're doing great. Our first One Direction moment of the night counted. You also have two other comic panels here that you wanted to reference. So why don't you take us away with these two?
President Steve.
So yes,
President
what I
Steve.
like.
President Steve. President Steve.
President Steve is in this episode, right? And like President Steve comes from the Ultimate Comics, which is not this panel that I'm showing you. That is where that idea comes from. But everybody was talking about the Ultimates comics, and so I felt like what we were missing is this moment in Who Will Wield the Shield when we get confirmation that Steve like has a good relationship or has a relationship with the American government, and that relationship is with Obama, who was actually credited, like this character is credited as Obama. So Obama's presidency is canon in 616, and his relationship with Steve is as well. So I just felt like felt like you all needed to know that. Yes, student list.
I just want to know what happened to make this happen, right? Like, did Obama make a call saying, listen, my dream is to talk to Steve Rogers. Who will write it for me? Or was it like we would like to invite President Obama to be officially MCU canon? Like, I just need to know.
I feel like what happened was that Ed Brubaker was like, Steve has to have a relationship with the government. Like, this is really important in his story moving forward. It could be the generic white president, or it could be Obama. Let's make it Obama. And that's what happened.
And Marissa, how do you feel about this? Is this like how you imagine this happened?
Yeah, I think they were just like, and we'll throw in Obama just for funsies. I don't think Obama had anything to do with it. I don't think he knew it was happening. I don't think anybody told him about it.
But I just love the idea of Obama being like Team Cap, not Tony Stark. Like I would love to imagine that Obama has like a very clear opinion on Tony Stark versus Captain America, and like the Civil War movie came out and he made a call and was like, listen, you ever write me into the comics, it cannot be without Steve Rogers. And they said, bet. But no, we do have a second panel here, so why don't you walk us through the second one?
This is essentially the same, serves the same purpose. So Steve and Obama are talking, and basically they are signing legislation that will be important later in, well, theoretically was supposed to be important later in the comics.
Right. To be continued in Siege. That's what the bottom of the panel says. So everyone give a round of applause to Alexis for effectively teaching us about the comics. You go, Queen. Thank you. I really enjoyed that. I feel like you make the comics way less intimidating for me personally. So I'm really glad that you carry us in terms of the comics history. Lizzie O says on YouTube, Alexis dismissing the Ultimates comics as she should. Clap, clap, clap.
I got you, bestie.
You can always count on Alexis for the correct commentary on comics, I find. And I say correct only in that when Alexis makes a suggestion, as she did for me the other day via text message when I was like, listen, like Bucky Natasha comics, like I'm going to start at this point. And Alexis was like, yes. And I'm also going to give you a long disclaimer around every reason why I think this comic is bad before you read it. And I was like, you know what, bestie, look it out in my best interests. Love to hear it.
It was a very long series of voice memos.
Alexis was like, I did not like the misogyny, Liz. I need you to know.
Like, I just had this visual image of you, like, on an airplane reading this comic and being like, huh?
What?
I have questions. Rage.
So I saying obsessed with this. If you're obsessed with this, then you're gonna love this next segment of the show. This is the moment of the week that I think like a lot of pent up feelings come out, and this is the moment of the week that I feel like is the most cathartic for all of us. I'm going to invite everybody watching to like.
I know what's coming.
It's time for the feminist rant of the week.
Oh, I was like, I don't know what's coming.
Alexis is like, I'm gonna find out with all you where we're about to go. Marissa, I want to hand the mic to you.
Okay.
Take it away. Feminist rant of the week.
Great. I said last week that I think like my thing that I can bring to the What If after party is making sure the show passes the Bechdel test, which it didn't even come close to this week. There were two women on different planets. Not even the same planet, like different solar systems. One of them is no longer alive. I'm really bitter about that. And essentially the role that both of them played was to just clean up everyone's mess. Again, Carol Danvers is the babysitter. I'm bitter.
And I want to add like a word to that sentence. Like Carol Danvers is becoming distilled to the babysitter. She is not the babysitter. She is being pigeonholed in the babysitter role in this series.
Yes.
And it's not okay, everybody.
She's stuck as the babysitter.
And I would also add, technically we did see Gamora for like a nanosecond when we saw the Guardians extremely briefly, and she was there. But let's talk. Even if we were to say yes, that is correct, right? It's still, she was on another planet, so that point still stands. She said nothing, so that point still stands, and so that point also stands. Yeah.
I think Natasha is the only one we're left with, and she's alone.
Yeah.
Like maybe the only person left on Earth.
Correct. And that is not, well, okay, here's a question. Is that a win for feminism? I think no.
No.
If Natasha's the only person on Earth, how do we feel about that? I did think it was interesting how like there is a little parallel between like Natasha being the first of the original 6 out in Endgame, and then in this episode she was like the last of the original 6. So I also felt like there was meant to be maybe some kind of commentary on that. That doesn't justify anything. It's just a point that came to my mind while I watched it.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the end of the episode really balanced a line with Natasha because like, she seems to be really upset and partially motivated by Clint's sacrifice, which I feel like puts that story on uneasy ground, because what we don't want it to become is like Natasha's acting out of like revenge for Clint. And the episode didn't start that way, but the ending definitely got us to a place where I was like, oh no, like is that the story that we're going to start trying to tell?
Yeah.
And it really brought me back to how angry I was in Agent Carter when they gave Peggy the unnecessary brother backstory to justify her entire life. Like that's what it felt like to me. Like Natasha doesn't need any more motivation. If you know Natasha, you know like she's got backstory on backstory on backstory worth of motivation to be doing what she's doing. So to add a man in the equation and to kind of once again base her motives off of that angle, to me felt weak in terms
A
of
man she has historically had an ambiguous relationship with in the MCU as well.
Mhm.
I will say the one thing that I enjoyed, this is not a rant,
Okay.
but the one
Okay.
thing that I enjoyed was that we got like visual proof that Carol Danvers can hold her freaking own.
Yes.
Like
we did.
she pummeled Ultron with the Infinity Stones to the center of a planet.
And people want to question if she can lift Thor's hammer.
I know.
Like, come on.
She can. She just didn't try.
Yep. No, and she said this line, which I'm trying to see if I have a photo for it, so just give me a moment. I don't think I do. She said this line when she appeared about like, I saw the robot movie, I don't need the sequel.
Mm-hmm.
Which I felt like, oh, that's funny. Like maybe she's referencing like the Age of Ultron movie.
Mm-hmm.
If you make that assumption, that was a feminist win. Because if you've been following the narrative on Alexis and Marissa's TikToks around Age of Ultron this week, and we're not going to get into it here on the show because I don't want to get banned, but if you've been following the conversation about Age of Ultron via TikTok this week, you know we have hot, spicy opinions about Age of Ultron being horrible in terms of jokes that were made by Tony, in terms of what they did with the Natasha storyline in that movie. So for Carol to sit up and be like, I saw that movie, I don't want a sequel. I was like, if that's how we're to interpret it, yes, Carol. Yes.
But she said Skynet, right? So I assumed she was talking about Terminator.
And
I want you to
that
be
is
right.
absolutely what the reference was. Like 1,000%. But in my mind,
I would prefer you be correct.
I'm interpreting it as a feminist win since we get none. I'm screaming into my microphone. We don't get many feminist wins. So if it is Carol Danvers making commentary on Age of Ultron being problematic, I will take that very long-winded interpretation and I will run with it. Thank you very much. I'm going to ask Marissa about what you think could have improved this in terms of like the Bechdel test, right? Like, I don't really think there's much room here.
Yeah.
At least with like the zombies episode, we could say like there were women talking to each other about a common problem.
Mm-hmm.
But like it's Natasha's like the last person on Earth per se. Ordering gluten-free pizza, representing us gluten-free folks.
Yes.
I felt great in that moment. But anyway, what do you think could have been done to improve?
I do think because it was such an isolated episode, there were so few characters. It was kind of rough. But like on the Bechdel test point, I was bothered that there weren't other female characters, but I was also bothered that there weren't any lead characters of color. It was Carol, Natasha, and Clint, and then a robot.
Doctor Strange.
And Doctor Strange. And I guess Uatu, but there could be an argument made that because Uatu is like an alien or another species, I can't get into that whole
piece of the puzzle.
Representation argument.
Yeah.
But it
gets into this greater issue of like the characters that Marvel is choosing to pull in this series, right?
Right.
And, like, who they're
there
choosing
were other
to spotlight.
choices.
And they have brought in T'Challa multiple episodes. They brought in like a couple different examples of like attempting to like show diversity in their choices, but it's the greater problem of like what stories do we center, and like when we're exploring every possibility of a multiverse and we're exploring multiple universes, we still are not showing diverse stories in a world in a series with infinite possibilities. We're still complying by these like heteronormative white patriarchal choices. We should have had a what if episode that was like, what if Carol Danvers was the only Avenger, and like we added all like feminist squad of folks saving the universe, right? Like, but no, we got Thor being a frat boy.
And that was the episode that passed the Bechdel test.
Alexis, I'm seeing you looking very discouraged. Do you
I have a lot of thoughts, but they're not necessary. Like you all have got this. Like,
yeah.
Just taking
So yes, Carol Danvers not referring to Age of Ultron in her statement. However, if we decide to interpret it that way, it makes the episode a twinge more tolerable per se. And I think that that's where we have to leave the feminist rant of the week. The bar is low, continues to be low. Perhaps Hawkeye will come in and offer some sense of feminism via Kate Bishop. We will see.
Who is being introduced by a male character.
Yeah.
The only way audiences will accept that she's important.
We will see.
Is she going to have any scene with another
We will
woman?
see. We will see. So we're heading into the finale next week.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea what to expect. Let's make our predictions. So if we had to pick one thing to happen next week, grand scale, small scale, I want to hear you in the comments. What is your prediction for the finale of What If? I have a prediction. Perhaps I will start this round. I predict that Doctor Strange is going to be intolerable. Alexis? Marissa, do you agree? Do you agree?
No, I concur 100%.
Okay, sorry. I just wanted to know if we had disagreement on Doctor Strange being intolerable, but yes. Okay. Alexis,
I also knew that's what you were going to say. I knew your choice was going to be Doctor. I think that we will see versions of all of the other people from universes. I think they'll all come back, and I think I will have issues with Captain Carter, just like I did when she was originally introduced.
I was just gonna say that. I was gonna say I think Captain Carter is gonna come back, and I'm going to be frustrated.
Yeah. All right. If anyone has predictions, leave them in the comments now. I'm going to be remembering the predictions that we make. And next week, we are going to start the show with if our predictions were true. So if you want to leave a prediction for us to come back and leave commentary around for next week, leave them in the comments now. And with that, that's more than enough talk about What If for 1 week, I'd say. We have a second half of the show that we're about to kick off. Everyone, do a little stretch, get a little water, join us on YouTube and Twitch because the graphics are about to get even more fun than usual. I wish we had a theme song for this section of the show, but we really don't. It is time to return to the chaos, the bliss, the glory, the adoration, the song, the dance, the tragedy, the tears, the awakening of Rogers the Musical via Alexis, Marissa, and Liz.
That was such a dramatic introduction.
I'm not done. I got more. Listen, every week we sit down and we say, do you know what the best use of our talent and our content creation skills and our brain space is? To create a fictional show that will not match the standard that we're going to get in Hawkeye, so we can be extremely disappointed 2 months from now. And to recap where we've been, for those of you that might have missed, 3 weeks ago, this all started with the three of us fan casting Rogers the Musical. And we talked about it in a serious sense with these first 3 columns you see on your screen on YouTube and Twitch. And we talked about it in terms of a jukebox musical or a Star Kid musical with some more interesting casting choices, including Party City Thor, a blow up, what did we call this thing? We had the wacky inflatable man from car sales, that do this thing, playing what character? Oh, the Hulk, I think it was.
Hulk,
we had puppets. We had generic guy in your theater club. There was a lot going on here. And 3 weeks in, and we still stand by these casting choices.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No shame. Absolutely.
No.
So then we moved on. We said, now that we have an all-star cast of superstars ready to perform in Rogers the Musical, what songs are they going to sing? And it's only going to be Taylor Swift music in this musical. We decided for no reason other than our own interest. So we talked about, Marissa walked us through the different pieces of a musical. We talked about songs that fit. We really popped off on this, I think. And then we have a cast. We have our songs we think that could fit in the story of Steve Rogers' life. And this week, Marissa, why don't you fill everyone in on where this is going?
Okay. We're talking about Six the Musical, if Rogers the Musical was Six the Musical. So we are picking 6 characters to talk about their relationship to Steve Rogers through the vehicle of pop music.
Hooray!
That was like a ridiculously good thesis statement as well.
Thank you.
Did y'all know?
That was so well said.
Marissa's writing a thesis. She's way smarter than I am.
My brain is melting.
I'm over here like, I wanted 6 people to love Steve Rogers and also hate him, and there's cool music. And Marissa's like, the vehicle of pop music will drive us through.
Well, I didn't. Okay, I mean, I can say that it's going to be people trashing Steve's ending. Like, we're going to trash Steve's ending.
So
if that's what we really want to say.
If you liked the ending, Steve's ending in Endgame, perhaps we have had a fun time tonight, and this is where you decide to subscribe and follow and look at my merch and go watch our content, right? Like, this is the moment I'm opening the door. I'm saying, bestie, I support you. I'm here for you. We have lots of other content for you to enjoy. But you will not enjoy the next hour where we decide to...
Maybe not your night.
This is maybe not the hour for you. If you're sitting in your chair saying the opposite, well, bestie, like, is your popcorn ready? Have you pulled up a seat? Have you texted your best friend that you're unavailable for the next hour? Because we're about to dig into it. Not that we have feelings about it.
No, I'm very level-headed, calm,
very level-headed, very
non-emotional whatsoever.
About to occur.
Yeah.
So, Marissa, set the scene for us. When we're thinking about a cast of characters, not necessarily 6, but like as in the number 6. But when we're thinking about a cast of characters for this style of roasting Steve Rogers to the core, who are we looking for? What stories are we trying to tell?
Okay. We had a little bit of conversation about this. The initial characters we thought about were obviously the characters closest to Steve, Bucky, Sam, Peggy, Sharon. And then we talked about Natasha. Natasha's got to be in there. And then we thought maybe like an antagonist to like really drive the Steve slander home is Tony Stark. But then we can also expand that to like general Avengers. We can talk about Thor. We can talk about
Loki.
Bruce.
We can talk about
Loki.
Bruce. Shawarma guy. The waitress from the first Avengers movie.
Yes, we can talk about Erskine.
Yeah, that's a good one. Absolutely. Zemo.
Anyone that has ever Zemo, yes, anyone that has ever interacted with Steve Rogers and has something to say, we will give them the platform to say it.
Absolutely. We will allow them to expose themselves, expose their thoughts on this. I think the starting point of this entire story, when I think of who has range and rage, and who can really like kick off the tone of like, we need to unpack the problematic nature of some of Steve Rogers' choices. Sharon. Sharon is like the person who is funding this musical. She is the one who is like, gonna award it with a Tony in a few months. Like, she is all over roasting Steve Rogers on stage. So I want to go to Alexis. Can you walk us through what Sharon Carter might be feeling in this moment?
So I will also, I'm going to preface what I'm going to say. So in my world, I think this version of Rogers the Musical comes out after the Hamilton version that we cast. Like, I think you do the Hamilton version. There's like this positive narrative about Steve Rogers. And then so many years later, you come at it with this more controversial take on who Steve is. And I think one of the interesting things about 6 is that it also has this interesting like historical commentary, right? And I think Sharon is in a place to like understand like the history of who Steve was supposed to be, since he married her aunt, and is also in a place to be like really pissed at him, and to have lost the glamorized image of who the symbol for America is. And I think Sharon has a right to be bitter, and that she could deliver a version of this story from a really interesting bitter place. I think the thing here for me, right, is that we all look at Steve as like this paragon of virtue. Like that is what the first musical would have established about Steve, right? But like Sharon is in this place to be like, paragon of virtue? You kissed me in front of your boyfriend and then married my aunt. Like, and you went back in time to do it.
Speak on it, Alexis. Speak on it. Absolutely.
We are getting into it.
Yes.
So that is how I feel. And we discussed this a little bit earlier, but I feel like from Sharon, we get very like Olivia Rodrigo vibes. And that puts us somewhere between like Good for You and Traitor, but where Traitor is more about the whole Peggy situation. Like, I guess you couldn't cheat on her because you weren't exactly married to her, but then you chose to go back in time to be married to her. So yeah, you did, you bastard. That's where we're at.
It's a 4. It's the number 4.
Thank you. I knew I was doing this wrong. If you don't know what we're talking about, we have a graphic for this up on YouTube and Twitch right now, so everyone can see the commentary as we go. So in terms of notes for Sharon, right now I have aunt or aunt, depending how you say that word, ... What other note should we add to the file of where Sharon might be finding her rage from? Marissa?
Yeah.
Hi, Grace. Grace, we gave you a shout out at the beginning of the show. You missed it.
Hi, Grace.
Who's watching with us on TikTok. For everyone that's just joining, we've casted Rogers the musical. We have found our music. And now we're talking about Rogers the musical if it was like the Broadway performance of Six, where we're finding characters with a lot of rage about Steve Rogers, what points they would extort from their history to expose him with on stage, and what songs they would sing in relation to that. So Marissa, give us your take on Sharon.
Yeah. Alexis stole all of my things. I think it's about feeling like she was used by Steve. She helped him out a lot in Civil War, and like didn't expect anything from it, and then he left her, like not just like left her romantically, but just like left her with no help.
To our second Olivia Rodrigo song of choice, Traitor.
Yes.
This man is a traitor, if I've ever seen one. And I want to ask Marissa your thoughts on this comment from Sly coming in about how Sharon did not get pardoned. She had to run to Madripoor and start like a black market system to reestablish her power and get back to the US.
I feel like Olivia Rodrigo is the perfect energy for this. It's like Olivia Rodrigo, Avril Lavigne, sort of like, if we're looking at a direct parallel to Six, like this is the Anne Boleyn, like punk rock, like I am pissed off.
Sharon is showing up with eyeliner to her ears and like those amazing fingerless gloves that are like striped. And she's got like, I don't approve of strobe lights because they're not accessibility friendly, but like Sharon's got strobe lights all over the theater being like, this man deserves nothing. And I
She's
kind
gonna,
of
like break a guitar on stage.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So Sharon established. Where would we like to go next? Who is, after Sharon's brought the house down and really established we are anti Steve Rogers in this theater, who do we go to next? I think you have to balance, right? So for me, we go to a choice that maybe is like less obvious, right? Because Sharon's a pretty obvious, like, oh, we're like pretty clear cut about why she could be mad at Steve. So we're looking for like a less obvious, yet equally enraged person in Steve Rogers' story. Who comes to mind? Either of you?
I feel like, I don't know that it's the right choice, but I feel like Peggy is an interesting choice there because there's a commentary to be made about how her entire life became about Steve. And that she didn't get to live this life that she wanted to live or the life that she carved out for herself, because it was always about Steve. Like her life in the military became about Steve. Her life at the SSR was about Steve.
Yep.
She carves out this life on her own that still ends up being about Steve. And then Steve comes back to make sure that it's about
Yeah.
Steve.
Marissa, what do you
And
think?
I feel like that's more of a quiet rage for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, 100%. I am agreeing with everything Alexis is saying. I did also sort of think of Peggy next. Like, I don't know if it narratively makes as much sense, but I do think like the energy like balances out of like Sharon is pissed and Peggy is like quietly like reflecting on her life, being like, this isn't really what I actually wanted.
Yes.
And so in that way, to me, like, for anybody that's not familiar with Six, it's just really quickly, it's about the 6 wives of Henry VIII having a pop rock concert. That sounds insane, but I highly recommend you listen to the album. It's amazing. And each of the 6 queens has a song that's like inspired by a particular pop star. So that's sort of what we're doing here. Like Sharon is Olivia Rodrigo. And for me, I feel like Peggy is...
Sorry, hold on. Sorry, everyone on TikTok. I'm trying to rebalance my phone. My apologies. Hold on here. I don't want your point to get missed because my phone's falling down.
Okay.
1 second. 1 second, please. All right. Oh, nope. My phone just fell again. My apologies, Marissa. I'm trying to create like some dramatic suspense. All right.
It's okay.
Go for it.
Peggy is Adele.
Yes.
Yes.
Which she feels
Which
like
Adele
the...
songs?
I don't know. She feels like the... She sort of feels like the Jane Seymour to me of like...
Mm-hmm.
I was in love with him, but also my life was ruined because of him. Like Jane Seymour, and that's her whole story. Is I loved him, I married him, and I feel like Peggy's sort of on that same vein, and Jane Seymour is the one that's inspired by Adele. So
I love it. So if you're watching, which Adele songs fit in the narrative of Steve Rogers' life? Let us know. We will add it to the chart on YouTube and Twitch. And I've seen lots of people saying hi in the comments and lots of people tuning in now for the first time this hour. So just to remind everyone, join us on YouTube and Twitch. And lots of you have, and I'm thankful so many of you have. Keep the comments coming. We can put them up on the screen so y'all can see. Sly saying, can Till the End of the Line be the theme song? Because that's been my anthem lately. I feel like we can come back to that when we talk about the finale, perhaps. We're going to have to plan some big number for the finale of this show.
I feel like we could go with like Someone Like You sort of energy. I don't know if the lyrics really fit, but like that sort of energy.
I also feel like the lyrics, not all of the lyrics from Hello fit, but I like the idea of like her wanting to have that conversation with like who they used to be versus who they became, like who they were when they met versus like what he did to her story, I think is.
Yeah.
No, I'm with
you know me. I always want to mix all the songs together. Taylor Swift night, you all were like, this song. And I was like, or 4 parts of these different songs in a blender.
We have a comment coming in from Once a Golden Goose. Steve's Adele theme song is Chasing Pavements. That's perfect.
I love Chasing Pavements. I love Chasing
So I'm just going to go ahead and erase what we have. And I'm just going to put straight up, it's Chasing Pavements. And it gives you that Chasing Pave. That was good. I really spelled that correctly. There we go. I think that's right. Yes. It's been a long day. We have Leah on YouTube asking if Rolling in the Deep. I think Rolling in the Deep is like a transition number here. Right? Because Sharon's like, maybe Peggy also is realizing like, we could like, wait, like, hold up. We could have had it all. Like, let's just pause the sadness for a second here. Like we could have had everything if like we hadn't screwed this up. So I wonder, like, in that vein, like, who do we pass the baton to in that moment of who also shares that, like, we could have had it all if you had not made the choices you made, Steve?
You want to talk about Bucky.
I was going to say, it's Bucky, right?
Liz wants to talk about Bucky.
I feel like... Go ahead. Go for it.
No, I think that works. Like, narratively too. Like we get to like, well, I don't know. If we're going with just 6 characters, I think that really works because we're getting to like a peak. But yeah, we might have to like, if we're gonna do more than 6 characters, we might have to like move things around so it's like Sharon, Peggy, Bucky, and then like maybe somebody is before Sharon, so Bucky's really in the middle. But yeah,
I have a warm take here.
Okay.
A warm
Not
take?
warm,
Not a
not
hot
hot.
No,
Not
this is not a show for warm takes.
But it is. It's a warm take. Okay.
Okay.
So one of the things I think, like I said, that is so interesting about 6 is that it also becomes this interesting commentary on like what history was like, right? And I think especially when you talk about Bucky in the MCU, you have to consider the historical implications of their friendship in the 1940s, right? And like what that was. So I think there is also a bit of a narrative transition here from Peggy almost blaming Steve for like, we also didn't have it all because you weren't sure who you wanted to be and you weren't sure what face you were willing to show the world. Like you were in love with this man, but maybe you chose me because you didn't think that the world was ready for you to be in love with this man. So like we also couldn't have it all because of your fear of how the world would perceive you, right? Which goes into like Bucky's story about this ending where like Steve still in so many ways chose the ending that was going to be more positively perceived by the world. Also everybody but us on TikTok, right? Like was going to be more positively perceived by like the masses. So I think that is a interesting narrative flow. Thus ends the warm take.
I just want to very quickly just remind folks what we're doing because people are coming in and out. I want to make sure everyone knows what the F we're talking about. Rogers the musical, okay? If it was like the musical 6, in that we're identifying characters that got a lot of rage about Steve Rogers and we're giving them a platform to speak their truth. So, Marissa, I'll pass it over to you to respond and add to the Bucky conversation.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because we sort of talked about this when we were planning. Like 6, it depends on the queen, the story that their song tells. Because like each queen has one song, one solo, and then there's like a few group numbers. But like their song is their time to talk about the relationship to Henry VIII, either throughout their entire life or at one specific moment. So I think like Bucky, his song could be about his entire relationship with Steve, like best friends.
Let's remind everyone what we said last week about this moment. We talked about Coney Island being like such an incredible Taylor Swift song in that it's telling the story of all of these relationships she's had centered around this one realization of I'm here by myself. Where did the time go? And that's very reminiscent of the story of Bucky Barnes. Am I wrong?
No.
And also Liz has really great Bucky Coney Island merch.
I do. If you want some Bucky Barnes Coney Island merch, I made it. And I want to shout
link
out.
in the bio.
Link in the bio. There is a couple people this week that messaged me saying, you made Coney Island merch? I was like, I did. And they were like, wow. And that's all they said. And I was like, I don't know how to read that, but I agree.
What does that mean?
I want you to know, I really wanted to make merch that was a reference to your merch, but then I was afraid people would just think it was a reference to Taylor Swift. But I wanted like an Alpines version of like something. I was like, I need like a song that's just like Alpines.
Do it.
Oh man, we're gonna workshop this and figure it out because I want it. I will buy it. Absolutely. I'm wearing my merch right now if y'all want it. It says falling like pieces into place. It's the Spider-Man sweater. And then on all of my sweaters on the sleeve, it says always on your left. So anyway, that's the only plug we're going to give that. And we're going to rip off my headphones in the process of trying to plug my merch. So to continue, Marissa, I'm sorry, I very rudely have been cutting you off around your interpretation of Bucky. So why don't you take us home?
You're good. Taylor Swift.
I actually have a question. Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you again. But to ask you a question, I have a question.
Yes.
In the spirit of 6,
yes,
does it make sense for Bucky to sing 2 songs at 2 different points in time? Like, could Bucky sing a song now and then come back and sing a song later?
No.
If we're following 6, No.
In the spirit of 6. I didn't say following.
Okay. This is interesting. Actually, this is interesting. We could do this. We could do a pre and post fall Bucky.
Mm-hmm.
We could do a 40s Bucky and then a post Winter Soldier Bucky.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, I would be able to justify in my heart as being different enough that it could count as 2 characters for solos.
Okay, so I have an idea. If we're talking about 40s Bucky, like we could talk about the moment of like if you had not like tried so hard to get involved in this war, like you would have been safe. Like we could have been okay. But you decided that like you needed to make all these choices and now I'm falling off a train.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like that's a story. And then I feel like there's a story of at the end of Endgame when Bucky's like, I cannot believe after you spent all of these movies trying to find me and redeem me, you are now leaving for Peggy Carter.
Yeah. I think there's like I think about the bar scene in the first Avenger a lot. And like that whole interaction with Bucky of like, you're keeping the outfit. Hell no, that little kid from Brooklyn who never knew when to run away from a fight. I'm following him. Mm-hmm. And then the like standing between Steve and Peggy. Like I think about that whole scene as like really being a distillation of who 40s Bucky is.
Mm-hmm. So there's a comment that's just come in from TikTok that I love from Once a Golden Goose. And I love that is your name. So I get to say it out loud every time you comment. How about Bucky singing the same song 2 different times with 2 different meanings? So is there a song that we could have like a low key version of, and then in the second context have like a ragey version of?
But
I love that. That's exactly what I was thinking.
I feel like it almost
and then
No, go ahead.
No, you go.
Lean in close, everyone. Okay. Y'all ready for my idea? Forever and always. There's a piano version, and there's the most enraged version of your teenage life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry for everyone that just got really loud because I decided to go close to my microphone. My apologies.
What I was going to say is that I wonder if it is interesting narratively to switch them, to make the first one the one where he's enraged and the second one the one where he's resigned.
I love that.
In for the I can't say the word. Wow. So in the bar scene, he's singing the rage version.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
We're calling it Forever and Always Rage version, Taylor's version. Wow, we really popped off. So then Bucky comes back at some point. I'm going to just like copy and paste this box. For those of you who don't know, we're on YouTube and Twitch with a graphic. That's what I'm referring to. Y'all are like, what is she talking about, a box? Bucky go ahead.
There's a comment from JJBWay Watch, which great username, that says, I feel like Catherine Parr is Bucky. And I agree. Catherine Parr is the last queen at the end of 6 who gives the like final solo to be like, listen up, we don't need you, we're over it. And I feel like that can be Bucky, but I also wonder if Bucky might be the penultimate, like his reprise might be the penultimate, and I feel like Sam might be the last one. Because I feel like Sam has a lot of feelings going into Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
And like the thing with Sam's feelings is that Sam has feelings about Steve that are Sam's, and Sam also has feelings about Steve inevitably because of how Steve has treated other people. And I think that is a really interesting like narrative ending. Yeah. Like not only did you screw me over, but I have had to watch people remake themselves because of how you treated them.
Yeah.
I love this. Okay, so let's just skip right to Sam because this is like a very interesting point of reflection. I first want to point out Sly really setting the tone. Ouch.
That's what we do.
You know, I was thinking earlier today, I was like, Marvel just won't give Bucky a break. And then I was thinking about what I was gonna say about Bucky in this musical, and I was like, or is it me? Or am I the problem? Am I the one that's just like Bucky Barnes cannot know peace? I'm sorry.
A lot of inner reflection that must occur, perhaps.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about Sam. Let's talk about like I'm trying to pinpoint like an artist that really encapsulates this emotion, right? Of feeling rage for yourself and the position you've been left in, and that of others.
I had like a jokey answer where I was just like thinking generally about what the character's vibe would be to me, and I thought like boy band for Sam.
Oh
But that's a joke that doesn't work within
It doesn't
the
work
narrative.
in this context.
And then I started thinking about it a little bit deeper, and I feel like I don't know if this works, but I feel like Lemonade era.
I was
Beyonce.
thinking Lemonade era. Yes.
Yeah.
But I don't know what from Lemonade.
I know. I don't know that album really well.
Also, Lemonade is art, right?
Yeah.
The other place that my head went was like in the complete opposite direction. I was thinking about like the quiet rage of Billie Eilish, right? And how it's like either so loud or so understated.
I feel like I feel like
Billie
that would
has
be interesting.
Yeah.
But I feel like as a closer, it needs to be a little bit higher energy if we're gonna do the sad Bucky right before it.
So, okay. So let's just park this for now. We'll come back to Sam. Who are we missing? We're missing Tony. Tony's got to come in with some rage. And Tony is like the most ragey, the most rage-inducing man.
Yes.
So let's talk about Tony. Alexis, I want to hear your thoughts on like which moment in time we place Tony Stark in this moment.
This isn't a good one for me.
Okay.
I will say that I think the thing about Tony is that I think Tony's rage needs to be flat. Like I think it needs to be a not nuanced rage. Like it just basically Civil War. Like it just needs to be like, I am mad at you, but there is no like it is not a robust anger. Like it is just mad. And like I feel like the obvious answer, right, is to go with like the moment in Civil War. But I actually think a more interesting Tony Stark narrative is maybe like you were always the thing in my life that everyone liked more than me. Like you were what the government wanted more than me. You were what my dad wanted more than me. Like you were always the thing that has like I have tried to be so much because you were always the standard that I was held to, and I didn't even know you like until now.
I have such a song suggestion.
Okay.
Great.
Please.
Selena Gomez, Lose You to Love Me.
Yes. I like that. I really love that. Yeah.
You promised the world and I fell for it. There's like a part where she's like, in 2 months you betrayed us. I think let me look up the lyrics. I'm like, I have the whole song in my head. Lose you to love me. Selena Gomez. Okay, I want everyone to imagine Tony Stark in those dorky glasses. I put you first and you adored it.
Okay.
Yep.
Like originally when you said that, I was like, I feel like that's being too compassionate to Tony. But now that I'm thinking about it, like the way that it would be staged, it would be so arrogant that I'm on board now. It would be like diva moment, like you
King
ruined
George
my life
Selena
by
Gomez.
just being who you are.
Yeah. So let me read you this like from the beginning of the song. I saw the signs and I ignored it. Rose-colored glasses all distorted. Set fire to my purpose and I let it burn. You got off on the hurtin' when it wasn't yours. I gave my all and they all know it. You turned me down and now it's showing. In 2 months, you replaced us like it was easy and made me think I deserved it.
I will go on the record here as well as saying that I am not someone that in the MCU ships Steve and Tony, but I do feel like Steve and Tony shippers would appreciate this choice from you, Liz. So I will say that as well.
Marissa, what do you think?
Yeah, I think there's definitely like a jealousy through admiration.
Mm-hmm. There could be a better choice. I am open to interpretation if people want to go in a completely different direction with Tony.
I don't know. I don't have like a specific song. I think I was more just thinking like the energy of the character. I felt like it would be like some classic rock, like big drum song. But
see, I thought Pink, but I didn't know what Pink song.
Oh.
That was like
so funny.
terrible choice, but we're gonna act like it was novel. Oh,
I
don't think that's a terrible choice.
I don't think so either. I was thinking about like Tony doing like the aerial arts that like Pink does. Okay. That's like, I'd love to see it. But I also think with Lose You to Love Me, like that's a song that you could arrange a million different ways.
yes.
Like you could do like starting with like Tony and a piano being dramatic as all hell. And then all of a sudden it's like boom, 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 strobe lights. And like, it's like this insane
breakaway
vocal,
pants.
breakaway pants, aerial stilts, like insanity on stage. Yeah. We stand Selena Gomez in this live.
We
do. Yeah.
Okay.
So you have Tony giving the performance of a lifetime. Who does he get kicked off stage by?
Natasha.
That's what I was gonna say.
100%.
We are hive mind tonight.
So Natasha comes in after Tony has been the most dramatic person we've ever seen. And where does Natasha take us?
I feel like Natasha doesn't as much have rage for Steve. She has like complicated feelings of like, I wish we could have been better friends. You only saw me as a teammate. Kind of like, I wanted you to be my family kind of situation.
Right.
I was about to say, I feel like there's a commentary there about the fact that like Infinity War to Endgame, Steve really in a lot of ways like left Natasha to pick up all the pieces and steady the fort down, right? When by all intents and purposes to the public's eye, Steve is the one that should have been doing that, right? Like Steve is the one that should have been rallying everybody and making sure there was a beacon to come home to. And like instead, Natasha and her old ballet shoes and peanut butter sandwich is the one that's kind of like stuck.
Steve just went away to go to group therapy where he talked about Peggy instead of his actual friends that disappeared.
Yeah. Also, what does like licensing for group therapy look like in the MCU? Because that has always confused me. Like, what qualifies Steve for that?
I can't
privilege. Alexis. His privilege.
Liz is like, white male privilege.
White male privilege is the reason.
Yeah.
Next, that's where I'm going to sit on that issue. There is a comment from Goosey in the chat, and Goosey has said, call me Goosey for short, so I will call you Goosey for short. In regards to Tony, give Tony a Christina Aguilera song. Now, that got me thinking as we were chatting about Natasha, about once again doing a transition song. We had Rolling in the Deep from Peggy to Bucky, and I think there is a Christina Aguilera moment that could perfectly go from the melodramatics of Tony to the more placed, perhaps, rage of Natasha. Say Something, which is Christina Aguilera and A Great Big World, where they're like, say something, I'm giving up on you. Yeah. And it allows Tony to scream his face off, say something, I'm giving up on you, and screaming at the top of his lungs and doing his thing while giving Natasha like a say something. Got anything to say?
That's a perfect Natasha.
Thank you.
That's
it's very inspired by my own inner rage. You got anything to say? You want to say something? I'm giving up on you. Are you sure?
I went to Avengers Campus and she literally just stared at me for like 5 minutes from up on the like balcony.
Love it.
With her arms crossed, exactly like that, just standing at the corner like the whole time.
If you want me to come play
judging
Natasha
me.
for a day, my DMs are open. Just give me a little wig moment.
You'd be perfect.
Great. Yes, I love the idea of like I keep clicking on the wrong screen when I'm trying to do this. So say something, which is Christina times a great big. Is it a great big world? Yes. Oh, that's too. I'm gonna put. I'll just put say something as like the transition song. Love it. So Natasha has now done this like incredible duet with Tony, right? And then what song does Natasha now get to center the stage around?
See,
do we pick a moment or do we just say like her life?
Yeah.
I don't know. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that, like, I feel like I'm not saying that I think it should be about her life, but I was going to say that if you go that way, I feel like there's an interesting commentary about like what Alexi chose because he was trying to be Steve and how that also negatively affected Natasha's life.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe we're looking for a song that's got like some father like kind of energy to, like, maybe it's like not a song directed to Steve. It's a song about Steve but directed to her dad,
or even like directed just to like a song about the idea. I don't know, like the idea of Steve and how that failed, directed to the world. But
I feel like that's a great point because then Bucky comes in next, and Bucky's kind of got that same closing argument to his case with this endgame Bucky, who's that kind of similar level of sad to me. Marissa, you're like very pensive about this. So like, where are you?
I don't know who that fits. I don't know where that fits. I said Miley for Natasha, but I feel like that doesn't work with the narrative now. Does it?
What Miley? Which era? Where are we going?
I was thinking like current, like California Dreamin' era, but now I don't know. Like now I'm thinking about The Climb. But I don't think that, like, I don't know.
Okay, we're gonna nail this on the head. I want to talk about some of the suggestions coming in from the chat to help us like continue this conversation, and please keep them coming because they're great. We have Leah P on YouTube saying "Don't Speak" by No Doubt, which is a great song. Love that song. We have on TikTok JJ B Wave Watch saying Natasha, the One by Taylor Swift. It's a great song with the kind of like a larger narrative. And then we have an excellent choice from Goosey, in my opinion, Big Girls Don't Cry by Fergie.
Yeah.
Which is a really interesting direction, and that's a song filled with rage, and it's about herself and centering herself and reclaiming her narrative.
Yeah, that feels very much tied into like Black Widow.
Yeah.
Yes. The movie. Like,
yeah,
we're talking about Natasha. I'm talking about the movie.
Katy Perry was just thrown into the chat. If there's like a Katy Perry direction we can go in. Katy Perry's got a lot of like bangers to pick from. So like, let's really like consider our options here. I feel like Natasha's a moment in the show that like sneaks up on you and then you go, wow, I was expecting Peggy to blow me away, but Natasha's the song that I go home and I talk about, you know? I have my
I don't know.
Spotify
I
loading.
kind of like, I don't think all the lyrics are right, but I think there's a portion of The One That Got Away that works there. Like, in another life, this is what we would have been to each other.
Yeah. That's the song I was trying to think of, and I couldn't think of it. Yeah.
That is the perfect choice. So thank you to JJ B-Way Watch for suggesting Katy Perry in the chat, and you nailed it with that. So this is like, what kind of rage is this? How do we classify this?
I also feel like we should have set up a key that it was based on like number of exclamation points, and you could have just the more rage could have just been more exclamation points.
Yeah, you're right. That could have been something we did for next time.
I feel like, I don't know. I feel like Natasha gives me not quite, but almost, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed vibes.
Like a disappointed rage. Ooh, disappointed rage. I love it. And I feel like the one that got away is like the exact transition into Bucky.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because now we're going to Bucky and he's sitting on a bench, or sorry, looking at Steve sitting on a bench, kind of, you know, end of Endgame. We're going back to Forever and Always piano version. And it's so sad. And it's him like reflecting once again. And then the whole audience cries. And then we have room for like one more number before we get to Sam Wilson, who's going to cap this all off with a bigger narrative around why Steve Rogers is toxic. So do we go from Bucky directly to Sam, or is there one more piece of the puzzle that we need to fit in to really cap off this show?
I'm kind of interested in like
there's a suggestion. There's a suggestion coming in from the chat on TikTok. Alexis, speak on it. Alexis, speak on it. Coulson. Yes, Coulson is missing from. So Coulson gets up here singing a song through his sobs about how much he loved Steve Rogers, right? Yeah. Like he's got like I Heart Steve Rogers on his shirt, and he's like clutching his like collector edition cards, and just like, and maybe like Natasha runs back on stage with like a tissue and then like runs off. Like it's like sad boy vibes here on the Broadway stage. Marissa, when you think about this, what comes to mind for you?
I thought when you said that, I don't know why, I thought of like a doo-wop number with like backup singers and like swaying and snaps.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with it.
That's
so like
what it needs to be, because it's very much like I don't know. I like the idea of like Coulson being like, I had this great image of who you were, and now I've heard these other people shit talk you for an hour. And like, I'm not feeling good, my bro. And I think it's a good lead in to like Sam, who doesn't have the same idealism about the world that like Coulson had about Steve, to then kind of talk about. Yeah.
Ideal. Oh my God, I can't spell this word. Idealism rage. Yes. So, okay. Now we're looking for the heartbreak song of heartbreak songs. We're thinking it can be staged like a doo-wop number, like we're going traditional Broadway. But I'm talking to everyone here. When you think of the most traditional, like heartbreak anthem of all time, like where do you go?
This is interesting. It might be too serious for this moment.
Okay.
But I'm thinking about Manhattan by Sarah Bareilles.
Oh.
I love that song so much.
Snaps for Marissa.
I feel like it is a little bit serious. Like we need a song that's almost like camp in how heartbreaky it is. Like you know, that can be like blown out of proportion. And my mind does go to Taylor Swift, but I can't nail like a song of hers that can be that twisted, like unless we're doing like Blank Space, but that doesn't fit Coulson.
What about like My Heart Will Go On?
The doo-wop version of My Heart Will Go On.
I can't tell if Liz loves that or hates that.
Did y'all hear that? Like, I just need to wait for the comments to catch up with this moment. Like, I know there's a slight delay. Coulson as Celine Dion. Like, let's just like, I'm imagining like the whole stage with like water. Maybe it's ice. Maybe it's ice because Steve within the ice. And like Coulson's got like this like piece of stage that like rises so high and like maybe it goes over the crowd too, and it like rains down like collector baseball cards on the crowd. Like, I love this idea. I love this idea.
JJBWay Watch says, I kind of love it, or it's all coming back to me now.
It's all coming back to me now is an interesting choice. I think like it fits Sam too, maybe a little bit. I love My Heart Will Go On though, because that is like the ultimate heartbreak. Like,
I feel like
Leah
that's the
P is
ultimate,
saying
like,
yes.
wholesome song too. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like his energy.
Why? And when you're talking about like a diva moment, Celine Dion is that, right? In the best way.
I also think it's interesting because we're talking here about like Coulson being somebody who like didn't really get to know Steve that long, but like had this idea and perception of who he was. And I feel like if you were going for a more depressing musical, that it would have been interesting to put Sousa and Chad Michael Murray in that spot, who were also people who were like peripherally affected by like what Steve Rogers' narrative was supposed to be. And also Liz likes Chad Michael Murray. So there you go.
I'll do anything to put Chad Michael Murray in this musical, folks. Anything.
I saw the nausea on Marissa's face, but I pushed through it.
You really did, bestie, and I'm very grateful for that.
I'm here.
I'm also wondering if like we need to consider Mariah Carey, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
Like Mariah Carey might be a moment here, and I'm really trying to think of like the right Mariah Carey number, and I'm not sure if I can really nail it, but
Sly is on my side. Sousa, the love of my life. Thank you.
I need to have a long sit-down conversation with you and Sly about my feelings for Daniel Sousa.
Okay, so let's just leave Coulson at My Heart Will Go On and talk about Sam. Right? We really need to nail this number for Sam. And we did have some suggestions come up around like Marvin Gaye, which is an artist that Sam does quote within the MCU. But we really need to stick with the diva energy, which is maybe Are You Satisfied by Marina? Lizzie O suggesting that's a choice.
Yeah.
What about no, that doesn't work.
So we're thinking Sam Wilson. My mind is going to Mariah Carey, but I can't land which song.
It needs to build. Its rage has to build as it goes. Like this is the Catherine Parr, the I Don't Need Your Love. Like this is the like punctuation of you left me, you left my friend. You left me with the burden of this shield that you didn't consider the implications for. I'm gonna go on a rant about Steve now. I can't right now. Yes, Liz.
What about I Have Nothing by Whitney Houston?
That's a strong choice. Okay.
I don't know if it's
now
the perfect
fit. I feel like there now needs to be Stark Radio merch that's just lists of all the different ways we've talked about choice. Like,
absolutely.
That's a strong choice. That's a choice. Just like
What about Whitney Houston?
Yeah.
I Have Nothing. Let's just like consult with the lyrics for a moment. We're able to do that.
We're pulling it up. I'm gonna change all my colors for you.
I don't really need to look very much further. I don't want to have to go where you don't follow. I won't hold it back again. This passion inside can't run from myself. There's nowhere to hide. But
don't make
this is let's sing it without getting like sued for copyright.
I really like the energy of it, but it seems like it's more about like wanting him to stay.
Yeah. And that's not what Sam has to say in this moment.
Yeah.
Sam, and JJ B-Way Watch is saying, I feel like Sam has such a strong identity outside of Cap, and that's what this song doesn't give him.
Yeah.
Okay. So like a song about like standing on your feet, right? And like walking away and like.
You know what's hitting me? This
What?
has nothing to do with sand. It is hitting me that we found nowhere in this musical to put Toxic by Britney Spears, and I really feel like it needed to go somewhere.
That could have been Tony's song.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Hold on. Maybe it's like in terms of the Alexis mashup that we're missing. The Toxic Lose You to Love Me number. That's what we were missing this whole time was like, when are we going to do the impossible? And I think we've just done it. Toxic and Lose You to Love Me is such, that is power. That is power. Yeah.
Dangerous.
Go, Alexis. Hot box queen.
There's a really cool, who did it? There was a cool Christina something that did like an acoustic remix of Toxic that I really like. That doesn't fit Tony Stark, but anyway, I digress. Continue. I digress.
Excuse me. Okay. I just read something in the chat and made me have that reaction because I love it. I love it. I'm Still Standing by Elton John. Is that a choice?
I thought you were reading the Pentatonics Britney medley. I like that. I felt like that.
Hi, Danielle.
Oh, hi.
Hi, Danielle. Okay, let's just remind everyone of what's happening. We are looking for a song.
We are roasting Steve Rogers.
We're roasting Steve Rogers.
First of all, we're roasting Steve Rogers.
And we're doing it in the style of Six the Musical. Here's what we need to do. Here's what I think we need to do. We're going to walk everyone back through, including ourselves, including me. When I say everyone, I very much am saying I also need this. Walking back through all the choices we've made so far. So Six the Musical, but it's Avengers roasting Steve Rogers. We open with Sharon singing some Olivia Rodrigo, Good For You, Traitor mashup, and it's big and it's loud and exciting. And then we go to Peggy Carter. Sorry, I just scrolled very fast. Peggy goes into a quieter rage, and it's like Adele Chasing Pavements, which transitions into Rolling in the Deep. And we hear our first song of the night from Bucky. I'm saying this all out loud and realizing like this is really great and I cannot believe we created this. And we spent our actual time in public doing this, but it's fantastic and I'm very glad we did with all of you.
It's going to live on the internet forever.
I know, I'm glad.
When I say we, I mean Liz. You need to do a Spotify playlist, I think, of the songs we put together.
Yes, I will make that and release it later tonight. I'll put it on my Instagram when it's up. So if you go to Producer Liz on Instagram.
Can we get a Taylor version too? Because I just want to listen to that through.
Do you mean what we did last week?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely I will. Yep. Okay. So.
Okay. We're going to finish this and then we're going to talk about what Sly just said.
I know.
Okay, hold on. Okay, let's finish and we'll end strong with how Sly just finished the show for us. Thank you so much for that suggestion. Okay. So. Peggy is going to sing Chasing Pavements, and it's going to be like this beautiful ballad where you're like, wow, like the impact this man had. And then it's Rolling in the Deep, and Rolling in the Deep becomes like duetty / transition perhaps to Bucky, specifically Bucky in the bar scene, the infamous bar scene. And it's Forever and Always by Taylor Swift, Taylor's version. And it's like the what I call the rage version of the song, the original version of the song. From there, we transition to Tony, who has the biggest diva moment of the night, singing Alexis-inspired mashup of Toxic and Lose You to Love Me. Then perhaps there is a Christina Aguilera-inspired transition song, because we can't get Tony off the stage, with Say Something by A Great Big World and Christina Aguilera. And it's Natasha that comes in. And Natasha's very centered in her rage, very disappointed, and sings The One That Got Away by Katy Perry. That's the number of the night that you go home and you go, wow, I did not think that was going to blow my socks off or whatever the saying is, but it did. And then you transition back into Bucky Barnes, but we're at a different point in his life. And it's Bucky Barnes in Endgame, and Steve has come back and is sitting on the bench, and it's that whole moment. And it's sad rage, and it's the same songs before Forever and Always, but it's the piano version. It's the sad version. The song has completely different meaning now. From there, we go into this like campy number with Coulson, and it's Idealism rage, and it's My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion. And from there, we go to our grand finale, which is Sam Wilson giving the narrative of the moment. And I'm going to let you two describe what was just suggested.
Sly,
Take
the
it away,
genius
Marissa.
that they are, said, "How do we feel about respect?" by Aretha
Oh,
Franklin.
yes,
And I think that's perfect.
And I feel like that's something where everyone comes back on stage and like dances behind Sam.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like it grows into a chorus.
And when we think about it in the context of like Sam being like having the title of Captain America passed along to him, like find out what it means to me. Like find like this old Captain America, like look what he did to all of you. Like let's like redefine it. Like
well, there's also a comment.
Baby, I got it. What you need, baby, I got it.
Well, and there's like an interesting commentary there about like Steve's friendship or Bucky's friendship with Steve versus Bucky's friendship with Sam. I think in that same song, like, look what you wanted, but like this is a friendship that's like, I don't know. I'm stopping that thought, but like I feel like that's an interesting commentary.
Yeah. I love this. I feel really good about this. I think we need an encore though.
Yes. So there's some comments. Okay, the comments are like popping and I'm loving this. I am very grateful that all of you are as invested as we are in this and the comments are popping off and I'm loving it. So let's just talk about what we're reading here. Goosey saying respect starts slow and builds up with each verse to be more dramatic. I completely agree. Sylvan Fox, Bucky needs to come in at the end with the bridge of Don't You Forget About Me, like a mashup a la Pitch Perfect. So, and there was a comment earlier tonight, and I want to see if I can find it, but I'm just not sure where it is right now. But someone did comment, are we going to get like an end? Oh, it was Goosey. Are we having an end scene just like in all the movies? And I think we are, right? Like we have to have kind of like a, and Marissa, I'll let you speak to this since you're our expert, but like when everyone's bowing, what's that number called? Like, is it a, what's it called? A curtain call. I thought that's what it was.
And 6, if we're talking about 6 specifically, they do something really interesting where they have like their finale number and then they bow and then they have an encore song that's just like, it's not on the album, it's just a song that they do at the end of every show, but it's like the 6 mega mix. It's their encore where it's a mashup of every song from the show. And each queen sings like a line or two from their song. And I think we could do that, or we could do like a specific song.
It's the Rage Mega Mix. So it's a song that's being sung in a million different tones. As a person sings, they sing that line from the tone that they presented their song through earlier in the musical. So you have Coulson over singing every single line. You have Natasha singing every line perfectly. You have Sam giving us like riffs and like these beautiful melodical moments. You have Bucky doing whatever he wants.
Crying. Petting his cat.
Honestly, he's either crying or he's standing with his hands in his pockets like he is at Tony's funeral, just not saying a word.
Why am I here?
I do have a choice. I do. Oh my God, my choice is leaving me, but oh my God, I cannot believe I'm losing it. Hold on. Oh no, I got it. It's Taylor Swift. Of course. How do we feel about I Knew You Were Trouble when you walked in?
That's really good.
And that is a song that you can sing every line differently.
Yeah.
So shame on me now. Like we all knew this privileged man was going to be trouble.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. And think
now
about the bridge of that song. Think about the bridge and the saddest fear comes creeping in. Guess you never loved me or her or anyone
or anything. Yes. And that is every person says me or her.
Or anyone, or any of you in the audience, or any of you backstage. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Sharon. That's Sharon doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've done it. Everyone, give yourselves a round of applause. Hold on. You walked in. That's our curtain call, folks. Thank you so much. I really want this to happen now. Like, I don't know what we need to do, like, to actually stage this, but maybe what we do is we script it. Well, I guess it's all singing, and none of us, I can't sing. I'm not going to speak for either of you. Marissa, can you sing?
Yeah.
So you can do the whole thing.
I just had the visual image of Marissa in like 72 wigs. Like just like pew, pew, pew.
Well, she did the whole show about wigs on her TikTok page and the hair in Marvel. So yeah, absolutely. Okay, I'm loving the energy of tonight. This was perfect. I will make this into a Spotify playlist. Both this and what we did last week, it will be available via my link tree, which you can find in my bio, and we'll put it in Alexis's bio and Marissa's bio as well, so everyone can find it later. If you do listen to the playlist, please let us know what you think. Let us know if it works. If you have other ideas, we can revisit this, and we will. We will, in fact, revisit next week when we talk about the finale of What If. And I'm sure we will come up with our last iteration for now of Rogers the Musical to really send us off running into Hawkeye. So we'll brainstorm where to go with Rogers the Musical next. We'll figure out a big finale way to end this incredible journey we have had together talking about Rogers the Musical. Final thoughts from either of you?
This was great. I had so much fun. I always have fun. It's always like a surprise how much fun it is.
Right? The show is great in terms of like, it's always, oh my God, we got to watch What If. And that's how we start. And then we end with, everyone's going to sing I Knew You Were Trouble by Taylor Swift.
We have impeccable range. We really do. It's like, here's Marissa's feminist rant of the week. Also, Bucky is Taylor Swift. Like,
yeah.
I feel like what we do. No, they did not.
I want merch that says feminist rant of the week. Also, Bucky is Taylor Swift.
Yes,
it's too much. It's too much, y'all. Okay, we have people.
I love that there has been like a collective fandom agreement that Bucky is Taylor Swift, and it brings me so much joy. There are so many playlists. I'm having a great time on Spotify.
Yeah, I agree. And I have a Bucky Barnes Taylor Swift playlist. It's called Bucky Barnes is a Mirror Ball.
Yes.
And the photo of the playlist.
Perfect.
Thank you. I'll be updating it once we get the red re-release. So stay tuned. If you're looking for it, it's the photo of the playlist is Bucky and Wakanda crying. So
it really gives it right.
I also have a playlist called Look at the Mess You Left Peter Parker In, and it's the same playlist, but it's Peter Parker and Taylor Swift. So feel free to peruse and find. I'm really appreciative of everyone stepping up for these volunteer roles. Goosey saying, TikTok made the Ratatouille musical, we can do it too. Sly saying, I still vote for choreographing Rogers the Musical. Listen, bestie, you choreograph your heart out. That is all you. I can throw some like classical ballet training in there. Should it be needed? Maybe for Natasha if she wants to do a cute little ballet number.
Tap.
But yes.
Natasha's number is a tap number.
Oh yes. I love that.
I thought Star Kid version it was like an annoying like
yes. She just does a bunch of kicks and splits.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, folks, we are going to leave it at that. We've been on live for just a little over 2 hours. But before we go, don't leave yet. Everyone stay in your seats. Stay in your seats, including you two. Don't go anywhere. Don't leave me here yet. To let you know when you can come join the chaos next. So we'll be live next week talking about the What If finale. So right now, if you're on TikTok, you can click on where it says Producer Liz on the top of your screen. You can turn on notifications for the next live. I only go live to do this show. So if you get the notification, it is this show. It's happening. You don't want to miss it. So turn on notifications on YouTube and Twitch. I'm sure it's somewhere on your screen where you can follow or click a button to turn on a bell or do like whatever you need to do so you don't miss next week's show. It is the finale episode. We're going big. We're getting loud. We're talking feminism. We're giving our thoughts on the series as a whole, not even just debriefing the finale, but what we learned from What If, where we want to go in phase 4. Predictions for phase 4 will be happening. And we'll be revisiting Rogers the Musical. We'll talk more about this. We'll have a new iteration of our favorite game, which is figuring out how to put Taylor Swift in the MCU, apparently. And it will be even more chaotic. And we have some big announcements coming about shows that we're planning for October, shows that we're planning for Hawkeye, other creators that are going to join Stark Radio and have some chaotic moments with us. We cannot wait to share all the details with you. So make sure your notifications are on so you don't miss anything. And there's a lot of other things we could plug, but what I really want to say is Alexis and Marissa are so generous with their time. So make sure you follow them and support their content as well. And is there anything y'all want to plug? Anything y'all want to let people know about that you're doing or that you're posting about, or just anything y'all want to say? Alpine should be in the MCU. That's how we usually end the show.
Eventually, Alexis will get me to read the comics. That's what's next for me.
I'm working on your personalized list. I'm working on it. It's a long running document right now, but we're narrowing it down.
All right, we're going to say goodbye to everyone on TikTok. Thank you for watching on TikTok tonight. We appreciate you. And we're going to say goodbye to everyone on YouTube and Twitch as well. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see y'all next week.